Scroll through TikTok, YouTube, or Facebook Shorts today, and you are almost guaranteed to stumble upon a highly specific genre of content. A soothing voice, accompanied by ethereal background music and mesmerizing stock footage, gently commands, "Don't scroll away. The universe is sending you a signal," or "God has chosen you to receive this message." These videos routinely amass millions of views, shares, and comments from people eagerly typing, "Amen, I claim this," or strings of angel numbers. On the surface, they appear to be harmless, uplifting beacons of hope. In reality, they are the front lines of a booming, highly lucrative, and predatory digital sector, the fake healing industry. We are living in an era of profound, collective uncertainty. Between global economic instability, mounting personal debt, and a widespread epidemic of loneliness and mental exhaustion, human fragility is at an all-time high. When people are chronically stressed and exhausted, rational skepticism often takes a backseat to the desperate need for comfort, reassurance, and a quick way out of their struggles. This deep-seated vulnerability creates a perfect hunting ground for opportunists and digital fake gurus. They understand that a heavy heart and an empty bank account make a person incredibly susceptible to promises of divine intervention and sudden miracles. By weaponizing spirituality, mindfulness, and religion, these bad actors construct a false sense of sanctuary, luring in individuals who are simply searching for a lifeline in turbulent times. This article will pull back the curtain on these deceptive digital practices. We will meticulously dissect the intricate psychological manipulation techniques, ranging from emotional baiting and hypnotic pacing to blatant behavioral conditioning that are embedded within financial scam scripts, disguised as spiritual guidance. By analyzing the anatomy of these predatory marketing tactics, you will learn exactly how these creators exploit faith, pain, and desperation for clicks, algorithmic engagement, and profit. Ultimately, our goal is to expose the anatomy of this emotional exploitation, equipping you with the knowledge to recognize these toxic traps and helping you build a robust psychological immunity against those who seek to monetize your deepest vulnerabilities. In the highly competitive landscape of digital content, the first 3 seconds dictate whether a piece of media succeeds or fails. Marketers refer to this critical window as the hook. In traditional advertising, a hook might highlight a problem or introduce an intriguing fact. However, in the realm of predatory fake healing scripts, the hook is engineered to be much more invasive. It is meticulously designed to bypass the logical, analytical part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, and strike directly at the emotional core, the amygdala. To achieve this, these scripts rely on 3 devastatingly effective psychological triggers: the invocation of ultimate authority, the illusion of deep empathy through cold reading, and the inflation of the ego via the chosen one narrative. One of the most potent cognitive biases in human psychology is the authority bias, our deep-rooted tendency to attribute greater accuracy to the opinion of an authority figure and be more influenced by that opinion. These marketing scripts take this bias to its absolute extreme by bypassing earthly experts and directly hijacking divine authority. In the text we are analyzing, the creator does not introduce themselves as a life coach or a financial advisor. Instead, the very first line boldly declares, "Chosen one," Archangel Michael says. By speaking on behalf of an archangel, a universally recognized symbol of divine protection and power in many religious traditions, the script immediately commands reverence. Shortly after, the narrative invokes the name of Jesus, assuring the viewer that Jesus never turned his face away from you. When individuals are traversing periods of intense hardship, Their skepticism is often eroded by desperation. They are consciously or subconsciously looking for a savior. By wrapping a marketing message in the perceived voice of heaven, the creator effectively disarms the viewer. To scroll past or ignore the video no longer feels like skipping an advertisement. To a vulnerable, faith-driven mind, it feels akin to rejecting a divine blessing or ignoring God himself. This hijacked halo of authority ensures that the viewer remains paralyzed, watching and absorbing the message with an uncritical mind. Once the viewer is hooked by divine authority, the script must convince them that this message was specifically tailored for their unique struggles. To do this, creators utilize cold reading, a technique famously used by psychics, fortune tellers, and mentalists. Cold reading relies heavily on the Barnum effect, or Forer effect, a psychological phenomenon where individuals believe that generic personality descriptions apply specifically to them, despite the fact that the statements could apply to almost anyone. The analyzed script provides a textbook example of this technique. The narrator softly states, "There have been days when your heart felt heavy without a clear reason, and nights when your thoughts wandered into places of doubt and quiet pain." Examine that sentence logically. Who among the billions of people on Earth has never experienced a day with a heavy heart, or a sleepless night filled with quiet doubt? It is a universal human experience. Yet, when a vulnerable person hears this delivered in a soothing tone, accompanied by the assertion that heaven placed this message in their path, at the exact moment your spirit needed comfort the most, their logical brain shuts down. They do not recognize the statistical probability of the statement. Instead, they think, how do they know exactly what I am going through right now? This fabricated intimacy creates a powerful, artificial bond of trust. The viewer feels profoundly seen and understood, lowering their emotional defenses entirely. The final layer of the emotional hook involves reframing the viewer's suffering. When people endure prolonged financial or emotional distress, they often feel a sense of shame, failure, or abandonment. The script masterfully flips this narrative, turning the viewer's pain into a badge of honor and a prerequisite for impending blessings. The text begins by directly addressing the viewer as the chosen one. This immediately strokes the ego and provides immense temporary relief. The script goes on to reassure the viewer that their past struggles were not signs of failure, but rather a process of shaping your strength through quiet trials and preparing your heart to receive something that once felt too distant to believe. Furthermore, it insists that what is approaching their door is happening not by chance, but by divine intention. This reframing is highly manipulative. It tells the listener that their suffering has a profound cosmic meaning and that they are on the verge of a magnificent reward for their silent endurance. By romanticizing their trauma and promising unexpected news, the creator ensures the viewer is completely emotionally invested. The audience is now primed, waiting with bated breath for the promised solution to their problems, making them perfectly pliable for the sudden, jarring financial pitch that will inevitably follow. In the mechanics of producing compelling digital content, particularly when exploring complex behavioral topics, the script acts as the emotional metronome for the audience. The text we are examining is a masterclass in this practice, utilizing linguistic pacing to engineer a state of profound psychological vulnerability. Before the creator can successfully execute a predatory financial pitch, they must first disarm the viewer's natural skepticism. They achieve this not through logical persuasion, but by deploying hypnotic language designed to build an impenetrable, albeit entirely artificial, sense of safety and comfort. When analyzing the structure of this script, the deliberate repetition of specific sensory and emotional keywords becomes glaringly obvious. The creator actively avoids sharp, urgent, or complex phrasing in the initial stages. Instead, They saturate the text with words designed to trigger a parasympathetic nervous system response, essentially calming the brain and lowering the viewer's cognitive guard. The narrative frequently references a quiet peace, a softness in what is coming, and a gentle breeze that carries warmth after a long season of cold uncertainty. This is a highly effective technique in conversational hypnosis and behavioral conditioning. By using long, flowing sentences and highly evocative, soothing imagery, the script induces a mild state of trance. It speaks of a quiet covering over your life, like soft light filtering through darkness, protecting you in ways you could not see. This deliberate pacing mirrors the rhythm of a guided meditation. When a viewer, particularly one burdened by the heavy heart and quiet pain mentioned earlier in the text, listens to this steady cadence, their defensive barriers naturally begin to drop. They are no longer actively analyzing the information for falsehoods. They are simply bathing in the manufactured comfort of the words. A core pillar of human psychology is the fundamental need for safety and belonging. Individuals enduring prolonged financial distress or emotional turmoil often suffer from acute feelings of isolation and abandonment. This script directly targets that psychological void by fabricating an omnipresent, fiercely loyal protector. The narrative repeatedly assures the viewer that they are surrounded by an unseen shield, steady and unshaken, even when everything else feels uncertain. It insists that Jesus never turned his face away from you, and that his presence is deeply personal and alive within every breath you take. Furthermore, Archangel Michael is introduced not just as a messenger, but as a protector sent by God to stand near those who are chosen to receive strength. By continuously reinforcing the idea that the viewer is constantly watched over, cherished, and guarded by divine entities, the script artificially resolves the viewer's trauma of isolation. It creates an echo chamber of supreme safety. The viewer is led to believe that nothing can harm them because heaven is actively involved in your life, guiding and guarding you, even when you cannot see it with your eyes. This absolute trust is exactly what the Creator needs the viewer to feel right before they introduce a suspicious link for a 7-second brain ritual. If the viewer believes they are under divine protection, they are far less likely to perceive the upcoming scam as a threat. Perhaps the most sophisticated psychological manipulation in this section of the script is its ability to reframe the viewer's objective reality. When people are stuck in negative situations, such as overwhelming debt or chronic stagnation, they naturally experience frustration and self-doubt. The Creator brilliantly neutralizes these negative emotions by utilizing cognitive reframing, turning the viewer's perceived failures into essential, divinely orchestrated stepping stones. The script insists that the viewer's suffering was, not by chance, but by divine intention. It directly addresses painful periods of waiting by assuring the audience that God was never delaying out of silence, but out of careful timing. Every hardship is aggressively romanticized. What once felt like delay is now revealing itself as preparation. This narrative strategy is incredibly dangerous because it actively encourages passivity. By telling the viewer that every experience you have walked through has been part of preparing you for what is now approaching your life, the script validates their current state of inaction. It effectively tells them that they do not need to actively solve their problems, analyze their situation critically, or take accountability. They simply need to wait for the gentle arrival of something that brings clarity, comfort, and a renewed sense of direction. This forced passivity is the ultimate goal of the hypnotic language. By convincing the viewer that their pain was purposeful, that an invisible guardian protects them, and that a miraculous, effortless solution is inevitably arriving at their door, the script entirely dismantles their critical thinking. The audience is left docile, emotionally dependent, and perfectly primed to be directed toward the creator's true objective, the predatory financial funnel waiting at the end of the video. The transition from emotional manipulation to behavioral conditioning is where the true mechanics of deceptive online video production come into sharp focus. When developing scripts and sequential visual designs for digital platforms, maintaining audience retention and driving engagement are the primary metrics of success. In this predatory script, however, these foundational principles of content creation are weaponized. The creator is not simply telling a story. They are engineering an algorithmic and psychological trap designed to exploit human behavior on a massive scale. In the ecosystem of online video platforms, algorithms prioritize content that generates high volumes of user interaction, such as likes, shares, and especially comments. The script we are analyzing is aggressively optimized for this exact metric. Throughout the text, the narrator repeatedly issues seemingly innocuous commands intertwined with spiritual affirmations. Viewers are instructed to type 999 if you believe, and later prompted with variations like type 111, type yes to affirm, and type 1212. As the script progresses, the demands become directly tied to the promised rewards, commanding the audience to type 1919 to receive miracles, type 2020 to claim miracles, and bizarrely, type 666. From a technical standpoint, this is a calculated tactic known as engagement baiting. By artificially inflating the comment section with thousands of numerical sequences and single-word affirmations, the creator tricks the platform's algorithm into categorizing the video as highly resonant and compelling content. Consequently, the algorithm pushes the video onto the feeds of millions of other unsuspecting users. The spiritual veneer effectively masks what is, at its core, a clinical exploitation of digital distribution systems. Beyond pleasing the algorithm, these constant requests for comments serve a much more insidious psychological purpose. In behavioral psychology, this is known as the foot-in-the-door technique. The core principle is simple. If you can persuade someone to agree to a minor, low-stakes request, they become significantly more likely to comply with a larger, more consequential request later on. When a vulnerable viewer complies with the instruction to type a sequence of numbers into the comment section, they are breaking their state of passive observation. They are physically acting upon a command given by the narrator. This creates a micro-commitment. Every time they type yes to affirm a blessing, they are subconsciously being conditioned for compliance. They are building a habit of obedience within the context of the video. By the time the script suddenly introduces the aggressive financial pitch, the 7-second brain ritual, the viewer's psychological barriers have already been methodically dismantled. The leap from typing 999 in the comments to clicking a dubious link in the description no longer feels like a risk. It feels like the natural next step in the sequence they have already committed to. The manipulation of human behavior in this script extends beyond mere conditioning. It actively weaponizes the viewer's sense of morality and altruism. Standard calls to action, CTAs, in video production usually focus on the value the creator provides. In stark contrast, this script manipulates the viewer by attaching a profound moral weight to the simple acts of liking and subscribing. Early in the text, the narrator urges the viewer to take a moment to support this journey with a simple like this video and subscribe to this channel. However, the justification for this action is deeply manipulative. Because your quiet action may carry more light than you realize, and may help this message reach another soul who is searching for the same comfort and peace you are beginning to feel right now. This phrasing is a masterful, albeit unethical, application of psychological pressure. It frames a standard metric-boosting CTA as an act of spiritual charity, If the viewer chooses not to like or subscribe, they are not just skipping an engagement metric, they are implicitly denying comfort and peace to another suffering soul. By manufacturing this sense of guilt and moral responsibility, the creator ensures that the viewer feels compelled to interact, further feeding the algorithmic machine and expanding the reach of the underlying financial trap. In the architecture of a well-crafted multi-scene script, maintaining tonal consistency and logical pacing is usually paramount for retaining audience trust. However, the script we are analyzing deliberately shatters these conventions to execute one of the most aggressive and manipulative tactics in digital marketing: the bait and switch. This is the exact moment where the carefully constructed illusion of divine sanctuary collapses, revealing the underlying architecture of a cynical financial funnel. The transition is not seamless. It is a calculated psychological shock designed to disorient the viewer and capitalize on the emotional momentum built in the preceding minutes. For the first half of the script, the creator employs a steady, rhythmic pacing, utilizing soft language and spiritual assurances to lull the audience into a state of passive reception. The narrative flow is designed to lower cognitive defenses. Then, without warning or logical transition, the script violently breaks its own established pattern. Right after promising that a quiet peace will begin to settle into your life in ways that feel almost surprising, the script abruptly injects a highly sensationalized marketing hook. A shocking CIA document just revealed a 7-second brain ritual that some people say is changing their financial lives overnight. In behavioral psychology and copywriting, this technique is known as a pattern interrupt. When the human brain is exposed to a consistent, soothing stimulus, it enters a relaxed state. By suddenly introducing alarming, high-energy trigger words like shocking, CIA, and revealed, the script forcibly jolts the viewer's brain out of that relaxed state and into a state of heightened alertness, curiosity. The cognitive dissonance is profound, yet effective. The viewer, already emotionally softened and primed to receive unexpected news, is now hit with a completely different kind of revelation, one that demands immediate attention. To make this jarring transition work, the script must briefly swap its source of authority. While the emotional hook relied on the divine authority of Archangel Michael and Jesus, the financial pitch requires a different kind of credibility to bypass the logical brain's spam filters. Therefore, the narrative pivots to pseudoscience and conspiracy-adjacent language. The script claims that 4 neuroscience labs reportedly tested the method and confirmed its unusual effects on focus, confidence, and money attraction. By deploying terms like neuroscience labs and CIA-backed study, the creator attempts to dress up a predatory sales pitch in the authoritative garments of empirical science and classified government intelligence. This is a classic manipulation tactic used to sell magic pills. It suggests to the viewer that the solution to their systemic, complex life problems is not only divinely ordained, but scientifically verified and hidden from the general public by powerful forces. It replaces faith in the unseen with a fabricated trust in exclusive, pseudo-intellectual secrets. The most jarring aspect of this bait and switch is the total abandonment of the spiritual values the script initially championed. The opening sections of the text focused heavily on emotional and intangible relief, promising clarity, comfort, and a renewed sense of direction. The script assured the viewer that God was shaping your strength through quiet trials. Yet, when the sales pitch is finally deployed, the definition of blessing is immediately reduced to raw, hyper-materialistic greed. The script targets the most economically vulnerable demographic explicitly, stating that people drowning in debt claim they are now attracting unexpected income, luxury cars, dream homes, and once impossible opportunities. This stark contrast exposes the script's true nature. It pivots from offering a quiet joy that settles slowly, like light filling a room at sunrise, to dangling the bait of luxury cars and instant wealth. The creator understands that individuals drowning in debt are often operating from a state of acute panic. By framing this 7-second ritual as the ultimate, effortless escape hatch from financial ruin, the script exploits that panic. It suggests that hard work is irrelevant. What if the reason money keeps avoiding you has nothing to do with hard work, and offers a seductive shortcut to financial salvation? Ultimately, this bait and switch is an exercise in profound behavioral exploitation. The script spends minutes cultivating a deep, emotional connection based on vulnerability and divine love, only to ruthlessly monetize that connection by pointing the viewer toward a get-rich-quick scheme. The spiritual introduction is nothing more than the anesthetic applied before the financial extraction begins. In the final phase of this meticulously structured narrative arc, the script must convert the carefully cultivated emotional manipulation into tangible, profitable action. Every element of the text's pacing and thematic design has been leading the audience toward this precise bottleneck, the call to action, CTA. However, while standard marketing CTAs typically rely on demonstrating genuine value, this predatory behavioral model relies on a much more primal psychological trigger, the fear of missing out, FOMO, and the aggressive illusion of artificial scarcity. To push a hesitant viewer over the edge, the script employs a classic manipulation tactic designed to suspend critical thinking entirely. The narrator warns, "The strange part, this information keeps disappearing online." This is immediately followed by a direct, urgent command. If this video found you, do not ignore it. Click the link in the description and comments now before access is removed. Later, the script reiterates this manufactured urgency by insisting that the page sharing this secret could vanish at any moment. From the perspective of human behavior and cognitive processing, this is a hostile takeover of the viewer's decision-making faculties. When the human brain is confronted with extreme scarcity, especially regarding a perceived lifeline out of profound hardship, it triggers a fight-or-flight response. The logical prefrontal cortex, which might normally question why a CIA-backed study is being distributed via a cryptic YouTube link, is entirely overridden by the amygdala's panic. The terror of losing a life-changing opportunity compels the user to act impulsively. In the realm of sequential visual design for online platforms, this auditory command is almost always paired with aggressive visual cues, flashing red graphics, bold arrows pointing to the description box, or ticking countdown timers designed to maximize anxiety and force the click. What makes this specific CTA so insidious is the psychological whiplash it inflicts upon the viewer. The creator actively destabilizes the audience by rapidly alternating between spiritual comfort and aggressive marketing. Even after delivering the frantic command to click the link in the description and comments before it is too late, the script immediately pivots back to a soothing tone, claiming that Archangel Michael's presence continues to stand as a quiet reassurance. This hot and cold behavioral conditioning is intentional. It keeps the victim intellectually off balance, preventing them from recognizing the glaring contradiction between a divine blessing and a high-pressure sales tactic.